Today, we're going to be reviewing the Dynamic Breakout MT5 Expert Advisor from Ridgestone Capital. This video is sponsored by our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Take your trading to the next level through automating the London Breakout and the Opening Range Breakout. Click the link in the description to download the EA completely for free. So this one caught my eye because it appears to be almost an opening range breakout style system. And as you guys might be aware of, we offer a free EA called the Ultimate Time Bomb, which is also based on a similar premise, but with different pairs. So almost selfishly, I was curious to see how he's managed to make this work on GBP USD, particularly with some very good results to date. It's also very economically priced, so it seems to be getting quite a bit of uptake just because it's only 30 bucks, so there's not a tremendous amount of upfront capital needed. And this gentleman's also UK based, so he's done a really good job of explaining how this works, and excited to dive in. So here he's saying that it uses a pure and play scalping strategy with a clever recovery system to reduce losses. And he says pure scalping, no martingale. It draws a range every day and sets two pending orders on either side, which is a classic opening range breakout. You put a buy stop at the top, sell stop at the bottom. Very, very classic. And then it uses multiple trailing stop loss to manage all the positions. What I've seen so far is it places a cluster of orders at the highs and the lows, and then it waits for a break and uses a variety of different mechanisms to exit the trade. This is quite similar to the original Wall Street killer, where it has like strategy 1, strategy 2, strategy 3. The issue with this is that if you enter a bad period, you can have a lot of like a sequence of losers. So it is a strategy that can work. Wim does this with some of his bots really well, but you need to be mindful of how you design your products for this. I also like that he says the strategy is not bulletproof and that there's always a variability in financial markets, particularly with trading. I always say there's no guarantees. You can never make a guarantee. We just all try our best. And then here he's also mentioning that his GMT offset is very important. So this is something which I find as well with Ultimate Time Bomb. You need to always get the time settings right. And many people don't do this, and then they ultimately are just trading something totally random. So very, very key. And even comes the news filter. So looking pretty good so far. And he's having good results in his tests. Granted, like this is a bit too rosy to be true. Most likely there's a degree of overfitting because he's only hitting the stop loss a few times, which would be a bit unlikely. So I actually ran a back test, but I also ran a visual back test just to kind of see what was going on. And one thing to note in the visual back test is he's using an absolutely enormous stop loss. So we'll see that when we run ourselves a real back test using the full engine. But I was playing around a little bit, so I'm able to inform you guys a bit more intelligently while we're actually looking at the chart. But now let's run the full back test here, not visual, just to see how it looks. And the good thing is it moves pretty quickly. And that's actually a very good sign because typically with a scam bot, it's super slow because there's a degree of usually history reading or something sketchy going on. So nice and quick. We are seeing here we have like the equity does go down. This is simply because I think swaps are eating into it. So here, like we can see there, we have a lot of losing positions open for a while, and we can see our balance line just kind of gradually goes down, and that's simply because swaps are eating into our balance. We are seeing a 99.37% win rate with only 6 losing trades. That's why I think there is a degree of over optimization here. We also have an absolutely enormous stop loss, which you have to be a bit careful with when running these things. And we can see here, for instance, that the stop loss, like when we hit the loss, it's more than 10 times that of the winners. So the issue with these style of super inverted risk reward systems is they can work amazingly in back tests or on historical data, but if the distribution of your trades change slightly, so if you run this via Monte Carlo, it can absolutely destroy the system. So far his results have been really good. We can quickly go back to his live signal here and actually check it out. And I've been quite impressed with his live signal to date too. But the main issue is if we look at this, he has yet to hit a cluster of losers. I think he only has one loser up here, somewhere in one of the previous pages. And the main issue with that is that in the style of trades he's doing, you guys can see there's lots of clusters, right? And then we're taking like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trades at a time. And that's how it's always trading. The issue with that is if they all hit a loss simultaneously and they all have massive stop losses, you're going to have a major hit on the account. And we haven't seen that yet in the signal. I was going through it, like there's a few like tiny losses, but we don't have one of the big hits yet. And obviously because he's just using such a big stop loss, the times where you'll hit it are super low just based on probabilities. Like if you look at it mathematically, if you put a take profit, let's say $1 away from a level, and you put a stop loss $1,000 away from the level, you're going to hit the take profit in 99.9% of the time. But if you hit that stop loss, particularly with a cluster of orders, you can be in major trouble. It can be very no bueno. And particularly, he's also running those in FTMO. This is going to take forever to pass an FTMO challenge with, just because you, and like, oh, I guess FTMO might work because you have a fair amount of leverage. But yeah, it's tricky to do this style of system. So I take that back. FTMO, this works because you have high leverage on Forex. If you try to use this style of scalping system on an indice, on a one-phase prop firm, for instance, where you're leverage limited, it would not work. So yeah, there's something here. It's a real strategy. It's interesting. But I would be concerned that if you run this for a long enough time, you're going to hit the big stop loss more often than you do in backtests. We've all played with systems like this in the past, right? And you're too susceptible to outliers. Like I've developed systems like this for myself. I've never sold them, but like way back in the day. And the issue is like, instead of hitting the big stop loss once, if you hit it 5 times, all of a sudden you have no profit. So you have a losing system. And you're paranoid. If you have one loss, you can erase 6 months of profit. So in terms of the actual strategy, it's clearly trading some sort of opening range breakout. If we look at the times, and we see when it's placing the orders, I believe it's around 11 o'clock platform time, so that would correspond to around London open. Makes sense as we're trading the GBP USD. Not quite, yeah, it's sometime early morning, more like European time. So there is a time element to it when he's actually trading it. And if we run ourselves a quick visual backtest, we can glean a bit more information here. Like he has put thought to it. It is interesting. And as you guys just saw there was a cluster of orders. It wasn't one, it was a whole bunch. The issue is like clustering orders in a breakout and at the same time using enormous stop losses. Like I can pause it here and try and kind of zoom out. Don't think I even count daily. Here we go. I can zoom out now. You can see the magnitude of the stop loss. Like the take profits are tiny and the stop loss is huge. So, and if we put on the daily, you guys will be able to see when it places the order. You can tell that there's clearly a caller. And then it trades the breakout of the caller. So it's a classic opening range breakout. If we see when the orders are placed, it's 11:10. So I believe that's more of a morning time, more of a London breakout style system. So makes sense, real strategy, interesting. I don't think the big stop loss will end well, but I could be wrong. He seems to be a knowledgeable developer. He has a good website, seems to be trying to do something right. So he could very well have a solid logic behind this, and I could very well be wrong. So it's not a scam. It's a good, or it's a real system, but I've just had bad experiences with this style of system. And be curious to see over enough months if that big stop loss gets hit more often than anticipated. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one.